that's just a little snippet from Canadian Business Magazine's rollout of its annual guide to the best jobs in Canada. Graham Scott, senior editor with Canadian Business, joins us now. Any surprises on the list this year as we looked at some of the top jobs in the country?
Yeah, one of the ones that we really loved was elevator mechanic, which jumped this year from last year from 74 on the ranking to number 10.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
but in a city like this, not a surprise.
No, indeed, and it is related to the huge construction boom that we've seen in condos. There's a huge demand for people to install and then maintain elevators, and we're also seeing people getting stuck in elevators in more creative ways, and so these people are really needed to get them out of that jam.
And it's certainly a specialized trade as well.
It is. The trades have done very well on this ranking this year. You know, there's a tremendous demand for skilled tradespeople, and it's also an area in which there's been a lot of retirement in recent years, and we don't have quite enough people going into some of these fields to meet the demand.
Well, let's look at the top 5 jobs right now. We've got a board with the data up there. So we look at number 1 being a public administration director, nurse practitioner, mining and forestry manager, pipe fitting supervisor, utilities manager.
I mean, you'll notice something about these top 5s, which is that they are directors, managers, supervisors.
Yes.
You know, in order to really get to the top of your game, where you're going to make the most money and have the most opportunity, you need to kind of get to that manager level, and that's why these particular jobs top out the list.
Do these also balance lifestyle though, or does your criteria look at that? Like, what is the job life quality as well?
So we don't take into account anything about job satisfaction. So this is purely based on.
So these might be angry people, unhappy people.
There are lots of people who get a really fat paycheck and do not like their jobs.
Right.
But in this case, we're looking at how much has the field grown over the last 5 years, and how much has the wage growth been in that field in the last 5 years. And so what you want to see is good, steady increases in both over time. That means that there's a lot of opportunity, and it means that you're going to get paid more when you actually get the job.
Okay, well, let's talk about money now, and let's look at the top highest paying jobs now. Again, we have a top 5 list. So we're looking at economic development directors, 114 grand, utilities managers, 112 grand, public administration directors, 106 grand, petroleum engineers, 104 grand, and financial and real estate managers. Really, that should be more now than 103 given this market, but... I
mean, you would think, but don't forget that there's a lot of competition in that area.
It sure is,
and, so the other thing to remember is that these are median numbers, so half of the people in these fields are actually making more than this, and half are making less. But the reason we go with median is that we want to see that there is a good chance that you could make this amount of money or more. In the same way, these are kind of senior level positions. That's where you're going to make all the money. So you can't just waltz into most of these jobs. You're going to need to put in your dues for a couple of years. This is especially true in the private sector, is that there's a lot more variability in the amount that you can make, but unlike in the public sector where you can kind of guess what you're going to make because it's all public, in the private sector you have a lot more room to negotiate, and so you can go higher than you can in the public sector.
When you actually look at some of these jobs here and some of the trends across the country, and I know you've been looking at this data over a number of years as well, so blue collar versus white collar, you've mentioned the trades that they're up and coming. Does that still hold true? Are they getting higher spots on the ranking list?
I think the trend that we see is that there's more variability in the trades. When construction booms are happening, there's a lot more demand for those people, and the wages go up, and people flood into the market.
And does it vary by region? So if we look at Toronto, like a city center versus maybe somewhere out in the country?
Yeah, that's the other thing about this ranking, is that we're looking at these fields on a national level. So it can't quite capture the more regional variation that you'd see for this city is doing really well, and that city is doing really poorly. For instance, oil and gas and petroleum business, you're not going to find a ton of that in say around here.
Downtown, yeah.
But in Alberta, that is an area that they're starting to see pick up again, and we think that there's going to be some more job growth there in the coming years.
Okay, great. So if we want to dive into the numbers, you can find the complete Canadian Business jobs list. We'll link it on our website, citynews.ca. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.